workout. It's not supposed to be. Yeah.
Make you breathe a little bit today.
Yeah. It's essential to keep them alive. Can't breathe. See if that.
I'm keeping the same key and do something a little more slow. Yep, we're doing a fast blues in the key of C. You would use a F harp. Do you have an F harp?
D. That's as close as I get.
D. What else do you have?
I got G, A,
Get-
D, and C. I think. And I have an A flat.
You have a C? Oh, no. You have a C? You have a C harp?
I think so. I'm trying to find it. Runs out of options.
had to turn. Okay. I had to turn down from what I had yesterday.
Marge, do you want one?
Makes you wonder what's in there. Second here.
It's the same key. My goodness, I don't know what to do now. Let's see. Probably have like time for one more kind of jammy sort of tune, and then
Yeah.
move on to the other one. Let's see here. How about like a slow blues in A? That'll be your D harp.
D.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see what we got. And we got at least one D.
Thank you very much. This is the UU 481 Blues Band? Local band. UU 481 local band. I'm going to do this other song now. Well, bring your old guitar and sit here by me round the heavenly throne. Drag out your Oklahoma poetry, 'cause it looks like a war it is on. And I don't mean no war for oil or gold or trivial things of that kind. But I heard the news, the vigilante man is on the move this time. So sing me a song about land is your land, and fascists bound to lose. You were a dreamer, Mr. Guthrie, and I was a dreamer too. I once spoke of a love for those who hate. It requires effort and strain. Vengeance casts a false shadow of justice, which leads to destruction and pain. Some say I was a friend to sinners, but now you know it's true. I guess I like sinners better than fascists, and I guess that makes me a dreamer too. In the year of 1945, you saw the killers fall. Many fought and died, but it's the innocent ones I most recall. Well, I've been the savior now for such a long time, and I've seen it all before. You good people better get it together, or you ain't got a chance anymore. Now they're starting up their engines of hate. Don't it make you feel lonesome and blue? Yes, I was a dreamer, Mr. Guthrie, and you were a dreamer too.
Marge Stockton, your worship leader for this morning's Labor Day UU Local 481 Hootenanny. Common Ground is our celebration of worship for people of many paths who gather to share in the responsible search for meaning and truth. This is a warm and welcome community where all who come with open minds and kind hearts are welcome, regardless of ability, age, race, gender identity, or sexual orientation. We hope that all who join us here today find this a safe place to worship. Today is a very special service in honor of the labor tradition in our country. We are pleased to welcome today our UU Local 481 band, Michael Moore, Alec Winter, and Glenn Weber, to our celebration. Now please stand as able and join our Come As You Are choir in our gathering song, Wake Up.
Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Open eyes, open eyes, open eyes, open eyes. Open eyes, open eyes, open eyes, open eyes. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Open eyes, open eyes, open eyes, open eyes. Stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms. Stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms, stretch arms. Stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet. Stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet. Wake up, open eyes and stretch your arms. Stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet, stretch feet. Stretch hands and toes and hands and toes. And hands and toes and hands and toes. Wake up and stretch your arms and feet. Stretch hands and toes and hands and toes. Wake up and play with all your toys. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. And play with all the girls and boys. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. Wake up and see the sun shining. And listen to all the things outside. Wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up.
Of course, if you weren't awake by after all that music, you're probably hopeless case anyway.
Is everyone awake now? Let's take a moment and greet the people around you, and then you'll have a chance to greet everyone else at coffee and conversation after today's rally. We got a crowd. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's a D. And after that, I think I switched to A or G. I'll play low.
I'll try to let you know.
All right, yeah, first one.
Michael, I love your taste in footwear. The shoes you had on yesterday were cool, and these are even cooler. Thank you.
You may be seated. Let's offer a moment of gratitude. Let us be thankful for the fruits of our labor.
We cleared this land, we plowed it, sowed it, and harvested. We cooked the harvest. It wouldn't be here, we wouldn't be eating it if we hadn't done it all ourselves. We worked dog bone hard for every crumb and morsel, but we thank you just same anyway, Lord, for this food we're about to eat. Amen.
This is the fire of our faith. Please join me in these words as our speaker today, Eric Copeland, lights our chalice flame. We light this chalice in communion with those who labored before us, from the slaves who built the pyramids to those who plowed the fields. We honor the employers who respect their employees. We honor those who fight to make us free from sea to shining sea. With love in our heart, we light this chalice in communion with the labor who made America the beautiful land for you and me. I invite you to join me in a renewal of our sacred promises. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow in harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other. We are already seated. You know, you may also enjoy the service remotely upstairs in the loft on a large screen TV. Our story for all ages today is a reading from John Ford's adaptation of John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath, read by Eric Copeland.
I'll be reading from John Ford's adaptation of the final scene between Tom Joad and his ma. It's supposed that after seeing Henry Fonda as Tom Joad, Woody Guthrie was never the same. There is a long catalog of musicians who've written a tribute to Tom Joad. Anyway, I'd like to encourage folks to reconsider John Steinbeck and his wonderful story of migrants. This is a dialogue between Tom Joad and his ma after police and thugs killed Preacher Casey, who was the voice of moral and reason. You don't aim to kill nobody, Tom. Nah, I've been thinking. Long as I'm an outlaw anyways, maybe. Hell, I ain't thought it out clear, Ma. Don't worry me now. Don't worry me. How am I going to know about you? They might kill you. I wouldn't know. They might hurt you. How am I going to know? Well, maybe like Casey says, a fella ain't got a soul of his own, but only a piece of a big one. And then what, Tom? then it don't matter. Then I'll be all around in the dark. I'll be everywhere, wherever you look. Wherever there's a fight so hungry people can eat, I'll be there. Wherever there's a cop beating up a guy, I'll be there. If Casey knowed, well, I'll be in the way guys yell when they're mad. And I'll be in the way kids laugh when they're hungry and they know suppers are ready. And when our folks eat the stuff they raise and live in the houses they build, I'll be there. Say, oh God, I'm talking like Casey. Comes to thinking about him so much, seems like I can see him sometimes.
Tom Joad, he grabbed that deputy's club and hit him over the head. Tom Joad took flight in the dark, rainy night, and the deputy and preacher laying dead. Two men, the deputy and preacher laying dead. And Tom Joad run back where his boy was asleep. He woke her out of bed, and he kissed goodbye to the mother that he loved. And said, what preacher Casey said, Tom Joad. He said, what preacher Casey said. Everybody might be just one big soul. Well, it looks that way to me. Everywhere that you look in the day or night, that's where I'm gonna be, Mom. That's where I'm gonna be. Wherever little children are hungry and cry, wherever people ain't free, wherever men are fighting for their rights, that's where I'm gonna be, Mom. That's where I'm gonna be.
Get Eric's stuff out of my way. All right. Today in Children's RE, the lesson will be learning from water, how to navigate the expectations that push and pull us, the practice of knowing when to resist and when to lean into expectations. Next week, the children's lesson will be new beginnings, how we handle the many expectations that come from new beginnings, school starting and stuff like that. The youth group today will learn and discuss Greta Thunberg, a Swedish activist who at age 15 began protesting outside the Swedish parliament in August of 2018 about the need for immediate action to combat climate change. Next Sunday, the youth will explore a topic they suggested for themselves, the possible dangers of artificial intelligence. At this time, the children are invited to take part in religious education. Let us send them out with these words. We pass this flame of religious freedom from generation to generation. Our call to worship today is by Eric Copeland. We are not called here to worship prosperity. We gather here to worship the spirit of a lending hand. We offer gratitude, we offer peace, we offer love. We offer worship with a covenant. We respect the metaphor of being cast from Eden. So we'll harvest this land and will protect this earth. After all, it was made for you and me. So come, let us worship together. And now please stand as you are willing and able and join the Come As You Are choir in our worship song, Peace Like a River.
Peace
Now let's welcome another proud member of UU Local 481. Eric first learned to follow orders and salute as a young paratrooper in the United States Army. Now he salutes you. Together we are a more perfect union. This land is your land and our own, Eric Copeland.
Oh no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union until the day I die. Oh no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union until the day I die.
Thank you. Just a little technical side note. I think the slideshow you guys are using in the back was from yesterday's rehearsal. So at the very end, when we get to This Land Is Your Land, we're not going to have the lyrics on there. So just a heads up. You know, when I look at those pictures of my younger self, I'm always reminded of the confusion I caused when I enlisted in the Army. You see, I was a hippie studying philosophy in Lubbock, Texas. When I was asked why I joined the Army, I rambled about being an author and stuff. But I suppose the parachutist badge above a Woody Guthrie drawing tattooed on my right arm sums it up best. I was willing to die for This Land Is Your Land. But as Bobby Dylan might say, so I'm much older than that now. I appreciate this opportunity. Talking about Woody Guthrie is a hell of a lot better than dying. Let's reflect back a bit on the history of labor and pay tribute to those who worked so hard to feed us and give us a dream that our children can live better and freer lives. The cliche that freedom isn't free often forgets that the fight for freedom was neither always on a foreign shore, nor did the soldiers always wear military uniforms and follow the orders of generals. Freedom is a fight to release the shackles of oppression and secure dignity and respect in work. Not all of us inherited a legacy of capital and aristocracy. Not all of us are landowners or real estate moguls. Dignity in work is from a legacy of sacrifice. It is that sacrifice that we honor on this Labor Day weekend. A famous historian once wrote that all history is the struggle between the classes. Hard work is not a Protestant monopoly, nor is it a virtue of religion. It is a means in which folks can provide for their family. And when, and only when, it is respected and rewarded with a living wage and enough time off for vacation and families, is it a means to be free. On this Labor Day weekend, it's important to recall the dignity that work took was from organization, sometimes a fight, and a realization that capital is the fruit of labor.
Raggedy, raggedy are we. Raggedy, raggedy are we. We don't get nothing for our labor. So raggedy, raggedy are we. Landless, landless are we. Landless, landless are we. We don't get nothing for our labor. So landless, landless are we.
History is a complicated subject with many interpretations and multiple twists and turns. I thought I would talk about the history of the progressive era and the roots of the labor movement because in today's political discourse, the word progressive is thrown about without much pause to reflect on historical context. Not long ago, I read about the economic complacency that seems to have infected both sides of the Atlantic, which contributes to the rise in nationalism. I thought it would be behooving to remember the history of workers' rights, because without that history, it is all too easy to be complacent and forget that Social Security is more than just a retirement check. As workers' rights eroded and unions crumbled, unrest slowly percolated. Though it took decades of erosion, many who prospered as the beneficiaries of the rights previously secured decided to vote in favor of privatizing public property and employment for short-term profits and savings. In essence, democracies socialized risk and privatized gains. We are now a nation where investors may invest in private prisons and profit can accumulate with the detention of fellow human beings. Though nothing new, that's a lot to ponder. Let's revisit the preamble of the United States Constitution, which reads, "We, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America." That's a lot to digest. If something were unjust, would it be unconstitutional? What is justice? Domestic tranquility, is that to prevent another revolution? Promote general welfare? Blessings of liberty? That's a lot. And it's meaningful. It's also beyond our purpose today. So we'll let constitutional scholars and lawyers argue and bicker about the meaning. I mention the Constitution within the context of the word progressive. According to historiographers, until after World War II, most American historians, influenced by Charles Beard and his progressive school of history, interpreted these reform movements as popular challenges to the privileged classes. The reform movements alluded to in that chapter, or in that quote, were between 1900 and 1917, which is by and large the progressive era. Published in 1913, Charles Beard's book, An Economic Interpretation of the Constitution of the United States, is often considered to be the hallmark of progressive history. When you hear the word progressive in political discourse, consider its origin. Progressive is often associated with socialism because it is based upon the premise that history is the struggle between the classes. Would you like to hear more on the history of the struggle between the classes?
No.
Okay. But allow me one more surprise. In his first State of the Union after the Civil War was underway, December 3rd, 1861, Abraham Lincoln wrote, "Labor is prior to and independent of capital. Capital is only the fruit of labor and could never have existed if labor had not first existed. Labor is the superior of capital and deserves much the higher consideration." Those are significant words to contemplate. Capital is only the fruit of labor. If socialism is rooted in the following phrase, the history of all hitherto existing society is the history of class struggles, then would a slave owner be a socialist too? If we make too much ado about wealth redistribution through taxation, then would Lincoln be a socialist for being the first president to implement income tax? Which I might add was later determined to be unconstitutional. So, we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, amended the Constitution to not only free the slaves and define birthright citizenship, but we also added the 16th Amendment to reinstate income tax and allow taxation on corporations. Think about that. The next time someone wants to jibber-jabber about forefathers and original intent, just say, Gettysburg.
Oh, no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. I'm sticking to the Union. Oh, no, you can't scare me. I'm sticking to the Union until I die.
Nowadays, the inherent conflict between labor and capital seems pushed under the bed with washing machines and air conditioners. Folks seem to be so caught up arguing and bickering about different social identities, they forget about organizing and sticking together for better economic opportunity for everyone. That is, except the billionaire class and aristocracy. Let's take a little time on the history of progressivism and the importance of labor unions. After all, I was taught that we study history to avoid the mistakes of the past. It never occurred to me that, quote, we the people would no longer agree on what exactly are the mistakes of the past. It's an important topic. It's a subject of wars. If we don't agree on the mistakes, then we have to refight the wars. So let us go back to a period before the Second World War. Before the Second World War actually created the World Bank and International Monetary Fund, there was a great international economic depression, the Great Depression. Part of that Manchester, the Dust Bowl. My grandfather, Theodore Lewis, was raised in Cimarron County, Oklahoma. His folks purchased a farm outside of Boise City in 1933, just in time for the Dust Bowl. Cimarron County was the center of the Dust Bowl and the subject of many stories that I heard as a child. As it turned out, the Dust Bowl was much more Oklahoma dirt falling in a Chicago rain. It was a period when profits overtook environmentalism and workers' rights. Investment speculation led to not only an economic catastrophe, but an environmental catastrophe and a mass population migration. You see, wheat prices rose in the United States to unsustainable levels because the Turkish government cut off supply lines from Russia during the First World War. Would you like to hear the history of wheat prices and investor speculation that led to the Dust Bowl?
No!
Let's just say that with bad weather, a financial crisis, and too much debt, well, for a better understanding, let's rely a little bit on literature. The following is from John Steinbeck's The Grapes of Wrath. To set the scene, a man driving a tractor prepares to bulldoze a family home in Oklahoma when the tenant cries out. Well, you're Joe Davis's boy. Sure, the driver said. Well, what you doing this kind of work for? Against your own people. $3 a day. I got damn sick of creeping for my dinner and not getting it. I got a wife and kids. We got to eat. $3 a day? It comes every day. That's right. But your $3 a day leaves 15, 20 families where they can't eat at all. Nearly 100 people have to go out and wander on the roads for your $3 a day. Is that right? Can't think of that. Got to think of my own kids. $3 a day, and it comes every day. Times are changing, mister, don't you know? Can't make a living on the land unless you've got 2, 5, 10,000 acres, and a tractor. And that reminds me, you better get out soon. I'm going through the dooryard after dinner. You filled in the well this morning. I know, had to keep the line straight. But I'm going through the dooryard after dinner. Got to keep them lines straight. And well, you know Joe Davis, my old man. So I'll tell you this. I got orders wherever there's a family not moved out, if I have an accident, get too close and cave in the house a little, well, I might get a couple of extra dollars. And my youngest kid never had no shoes yet. I built it with my own hands, straightened old nails to put the sheathing on. You bump it down, I'll be in the window with a rifle. You even come too close, I'll pot you like a rabbit. It's not me. There's nothing I can do. I'll lose my job if I don't do it. And look, suppose you do kill me. They'll just hang you, but long before you're hung, there'll be another guy on a tractor, and he'll bump the house down. You're not killing the right guy. That so? Who gave you orders? I'll go after him. He's the one to kill. You're wrong. He got his orders from the bank. The bank told him, clear those people out or it's your job. Well, there's a president of the bank. There's a board of directors. I'll fill up the magazine of the rifle and go into the bank. Fellow was telling me the bank gets orders from the east. The orders were, make the land show profit or we'll close you up. But where does it stop? Who can we shoot? I don't aim to starve to death before I kill the man starving me. I don't know. Maybe there's nobody to shoot. Maybe the thing isn't meant at all. Maybe, like you said, the property's doing it. Anyway, I got my orders. As y'all know, many of them Okies fled from California for a better life. It's hard to imagine now, but many poor folks from Oklahoma were met by billy clubs and police thugs. They'd better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Kansas, Georgia, and Tennessee.
Lots of folks back east they say, leaving home most every day, taking the hot old dusty way to the California line. Across the desert sands they roll, getting out of that old dust bowl. They think they're going to a sugar bowl, but this is what they find. Well, the police at the court of interest say you're number 14,000 for the day. If you ain't got that do-re-mi, boy, you ain't got that do-re-mi. Well, you better go back to beautiful Texas, Oklahoma, Georgia, Kansas, Tennessee. California is a garden of Eden. It's a paradise to live in or see. But believe it or not, you won't find it so hot. You ain't got that do-re-mi. Believe it or not, you won't find it so hot if you ain't got that do-re-mi.
It's all too easy to forget that it wasn't that long ago when it was people from the Panhandle Plains that were beaten by company thugs and hired goons. To this day, folks in the Panhandle Plains rely on government subsidies in all forms while denouncing migrants from South America and Mexico. It's like nothing is new. They claim that bad luck and weather was a temporary setback while they cashed the government checks for decades. But what about those who were landless? Those who were beaten down and fell on hard times? What about those who were deported? What happened to Juan, Rosalita, Jesus, and Maria?
The crops are all in, and the peaches are rotting. Oranges piled in their creosote dumps. They're flying them back to the Mexican border to pay all their money to wade back again. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have your names when you ride the big airplane, and all they will call you will be deportees. Well, my father's own father, he waited at a river. They took all the money he made in his life. My brothers and my sisters, they worked in the orchards. They rode a big truck, and still they lay down and died. Goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have your names when you ride the big airplane, and all they will call you will be deportees. Well, the sky plane caught fire over Los Gatos Canyon. A fireball of lightning shook all of the hills. Who are all these friends, all scattered like dry leaves? The radio says they're just deportees. Well, goodbye to my one, goodbye Rosalita, adios mi amigos, Jesus y Maria. You won't have your names when you ride the big airplane, and all they will call you will be deportees.
That's always been one of my favorite songs. The line, "Some of us are illegal and others not wanted," always resonates with me. The political argument is often framed as legal versus illegal. I simply want to remind folks that anti-immigrant arguments are nothing new, and there is a lot of history to see how flames of bigotry often precede violence and war. Whatever is legal or illegal has nothing to do with moral authority. In essence, the slave trade was legal immigration before it was illegal. In his second inaugural address, Lincoln proclaimed, "Fervently do we pray that this mighty scourge of war may speedily pass away. Yet if God wills that it continue until all wealth piled by the bondsman 250 years of unrequited toil shall be sunk, and until every drop of blood drawn with the lash shall be paid by another drawn with the sword." Those are such profound words. He is stating that perhaps the Civil War was God's will, and that it may last until all the profits from slavery are gone and every drop of blood from a whip be repaid in kind. As many of you know, I began my formal religious education as a Baptist in the Panhandle of Texas. It was there as a young man I learned stories about one of the most famous refugees in world history. The story is simple. A long time ago, the Red Sea was a natural barrier to prevent the free flow of migrant peoples. The Red Sea was much more formidable than the Rio Grande. The Egyptians relied upon the sea to keep their slaves from migrating. God thought otherwise. He parted the sea. Oddly enough, a long time thereafter, a small child who was to be saved from execution was taken by his father back to Egypt. He was chosen to someday lead. The small child was just another refugee. Though there are many tales of great destruction at the hands of God in the Bible, he seems to favor slaves and refugees, and at least an open border for Egypt. Would you like to hear more about the history of Jesus?
No! Jesus Christ was a man who traveled through the land, a hard-working man and brave. He said to the rich, give your goods to the poor, though they laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Yes, Jesus was a man, a carpenter by hand. His followers were true and brave. One dirty little coward called Judas Iscariot laid poor Jesus in his grave. When Jesus came to town, all the working folks around believed what he did say. The bankers and the preachers, they nailed him on the cross, and they laid Jesus Christ in his grave. And the working people, they followed him around, singing and shouting gay. But the cops and the soldiers, they nailed him in the air, and they laid Jesus Christ in his grave. Yes, they laid Jesus Christ in his grave.
Folks, what I'm trying to say is things have been turned upside down. This is the 125th Labor Day weekend. It was a day designed to give workers a day off, have parades, and celebrate unions. It seems as if unfettered capitalism has taken our religions and turned them into prosperity gospels and evangelical tourism. Political arguments used to be about family values and balanced budgets. Now it seems more and more like the 1930s were nothing to be remembered. We are all part of something. The question is what? We are all part of that ship in the sky. Years ago, I enlisted in the Army because as a student of history, I wanted to demonstrate my patriotism. I wanted to be on the side of the Union. After all, it was in order to form a more perfect Union we had the Constitution. With great pride, I helped rid Mozambique of landmines, and on the day of my last jump, my little girl Emma was invited to the drop zone. As a former soldier, I believe this country is worth fighting for. We are all in this together. After the sermon, I'd like to ask, if you haven't already, to register to vote. Regardless of political party, it's important that we all vote. This is one of those moments. We are all part of the ship in the sky.
Well, a curly-headed girl with a bright shining smile heard the roar of a plane as it sailed through the sky. To her playmate she said with a bright twinkling eye, my daddy flies that ship in the sky. My daddy flies that ship in the sky. My daddy flies that ship in the sky. My mama's not afraid and neither am I, 'cause my daddy flies that ship in the sky. Then a button-nosed kid, as he kicked up his heels, he said, my daddy works in the iron and the steel. My dad built planes and they fly through the sky, and for that's what keeps your daddy up so high. That's what keeps your daddy up there so high. That's what keeps your daddy up there so high. My dad builds the planes and they fly through the sky, and that's what keeps your daddy up so high. Then a freckle-faced kid pinched a toe in the sand. He said, my daddy works at the place where they land. You tell your mama, don't be afraid. My dad'll bring your daddy back home again. My daddy'll bring your daddy home again. My dad'll bring your daddy back home again. Don't be afraid if it's dark and it rains, 'cause my dad'll bring your daddy home again.
America is neither a religious crusade nor a castle for kings and queens. It's a lover's dream. Why did I join the Army? Why not? This land was made for you and me.
This land is your land, this land is my land, from California to New York Island, from Gulf to Florida, Gulf to water. This land was made for you and me. This land was made for you and me.
Thanks to all of you. As we have received, so we are asked to give. Please use the offering envelopes provided. Green envelopes are for pledges or gifts to Pathways. Gold envelopes are for donations to our outreach partner. Our outreach partner for the months of July, August, and September is Mid-Cities Care Corps. The Mid-Cities Care Corps connects clients with caring volunteers to provide 3 programs: transportation, light housework, and social outreach. Their Helping Hands program assists seniors with minor home repairs. We will now receive the offering.
Life for free, but you can save them for the birds and bees. Just give me more. That's what I want. That's what I want. Yeah, that's what I want. Well, your loving gives me a thrill, but your loving don't pay my bill. Just give me more. That's what I want.
Thank you for your generous gifts, kindly and freely given this morning and by mail throughout the month to support this congregation and our outreach effort. We hope that each of you on your individual paths through the joys and questions of life found some common ground here today with your fellow travelers here at Pathways. As Eric extinguishes our chalice flame, let us join in these words. The fire of our faith comes from a child's hunger and the spirit of communion to feed her. The fire of our faith comes from the land and from the heavens. We extinguish this flame, knowing that together we can see in the dark to light the pathway to humanity. We are Pathways. To our first-time visitors, if you would like to learn more about Pathways, stay around for a while after the service and talk to us. Have some coffee and snacks and tell us about yourselves. Be sure to share your contact information with us at the welcome table out in the foyer, And if you like, you may sign up on our website for our weekly newsletter, The Pathways Weekly. We hope that everyone enjoyed our Labor Day service today, Hootenanny service today. Please join me and applaud our Lubbock refugee and drummer, Eric Winter. On harmonica and with the spirit of a vagabond seeking a train, Glenn Weber. On lead vocals and guitar and piano, Michael Moore. And of course, our raconteur-in-chief, Eric Copeland. Now to the business part of the service. If you would like to learn more about ways to leverage your gifts to Pathways, please see Stephen Braun to learn about North Texas Giving Day. You can actually make some of your pledges that way. There are meetings and events here at Pathways throughout the week. Here are just a few. To see our full lineup, check the Pathways Weekly or the events calendar on our webpage, pathwaysuu.org. In September, the 5th and the 19th, the Pathways Women's Book Group will read and discuss Still Life by Louise Penny. The discussion will be led by Loie Roskowski. The book group meets first and third Thursdays of each month at 1 p.m. here at Pathways. Newcomers are always welcome. Next Sunday, September 8th, in Common Ground, we will celebrate our annual In-Gathering and Water Communion service led by Reverend Rob Moore. Please have your children and youth with us for this intergenerational service as we open the new academic year at Pathways. Also, please bring a small container of water to be merged with our combined waters in this special ritual. Your water offering may represent your awareness of water scarcity. It may represent travel or transformation. It may represent storm waters over concerns and losses. Or it may represent water that sustains us with hope. Our merged waters will be applied to our small gardens out in front of the church. And if you forget your water, there will be some here for you. The next circle dinner is on Saturday, September 14th. Circle dinners are a great way to break bread and learn more about the people in your community. Let's all sign up as a guest or a host. The sign-up sheets are in the coffee room. Is there something in the Bible for you use? Explore Marcus Borg's Reading the Bible Again for the First Time in a new book study group. This group is starting Sunday, September 22nd at 11:30 at Pathways. Stephen Braun will facilitate this group study. There is a sign-up sheet for this class, again, out here on the table in the coffee room. The Soul Matters small group is forming today. If you are interested in participating, the question and answer kickoff today is required attendance. This happens at 11:30. My notes say in the library. Is that correct? Okay. The library is the last room down the hall. This September information packet will be handed out with assignments for the first Soul Matters meeting on September 15th. If you have signed up for or are interested in Wellspring Group this year, the Wellspring question and answer meeting happens today at 11:30 in meeting room 2. This is required for all who are interested in participating in this year's Wellspring. Scheduling decisions will be made. Several handouts will be provided, including book lists and initial reading assignments. Again, attendance is required of all folks interested in participating in Wellspring this year. After we break for coffee and conversation, we will continue with several adult discussion groups. Harriet Reasoners is our humanist discussion group. It meets here in the sanctuary. Today, Jenny Berry will lead a discussion on sovereign citizenship, and you're going to have to explain what that is. On My Path, we'll meet upstairs in the loft. This is a group for adults to celebrate and deepen their individual spiritual journey. It is open to all seekers from any path and is a safe place to speak your truth in a circle of trust. And of course, the Soul Matters and Wellspring groups will be meeting at 11:30 as well. A reminder to parents, please pick up your children from the nursery immediately after Common Ground so that all ages can share in the fellowship and food. The nursery will reopen at 11:30 for adult discussion groups, or shortly thereafter. Now, did we get the slides going for okay? Now, please stand as you're willing and able for our closing song. For today's song, we ask you to join the Come and You Are choir and sing with our band, This Land Is Your Land.
This land is your land, my land.
Now we bring our common ground to a close with these words by Eric. Look around at each other. It is our world. It is what we make of it. We can walk alone, or we can walk hand in hand and together to form a more perfect union. On our sacred common ground, unite. We need each other. Blessed be. Go in peace.
Go in peace. That was terrific. Thank you.
Thank you for saying so.
4 minutes.
Hey, that's pretty
Thank
good.
Eric. He's doing good all else.
What?
He said he was thanking me for service. I said, thank Eric.
Yeah.
Made it happen.
So, written, directed, and produced by.
Yeah, written, directed, produced, and acted.
That's right. Starring, written, produced.
Starring.
Yes. I was so out of key.
Oh, I thought you were great, man. I really did.
Oh, thanks.
Really did.
I was out of key and
Are you
everything.
somewhere on a regular basis or just occasional?
Just occasions. I play in church, a couple different churches. I play, sometimes I play with the Catan Opry. It's a Fort Worth organization that does Western swing music.
So where I can catch you again.
Well, you can look up Cowtown Opry on the web. We play there. Well, they play there every Sunday. Cowtown Opry. Like Grand Ole Opry, you know, back in the it's called Cowtown Opry. And when they have, I usually play when they have Western Swing on Sunday, but not today. It's usually the first Sunday of every month. But today, they have these special games, so I'm not playing today. But, and then they play, they also play the other things like the rodeo, parades, and things like that. And otherwise, like I say, the church, you know, I used to play clubs and stuff years ago, but I might get back to that someday. Thank you so much.
That was amazing.
It was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Every week, and there was a couple of guys it was amazing and fun.
You were great.
There's a cake at the action on Labor Day on the cake. You guys have a cake. Okay? Well done. No, actually, that was Matt, I think you remember. I'm not watching you. Listen. You should have a coffee house with you guys. Ellen was rocking it. Yeah, make a coffee house. By the way, I found cute with the suspenders.
I found some cool tables. Well, they're round tables with 5 bar stools around them. You could fit 50 people in here easily with a combination of those. But so I was going to propose that to the board to invest in a couple of those because it takes up less space than the big chairs. Okay. So we could supplement having 60 to 70 people in here for the, you know, the coffee house kind of thing. Or with an investment, or people would donate.
Oh, you're storing them at your house?
Well, I got to figure out the storage issue too. But I wanted to.
Don't even point back there. That's cool.
I know that's the only thing. Picking out where to put them. But I wanted to show you. I took a picture just as an idea for future. Once we move the staircase, right?
That's gonna happen.
I
It's
hope
the only
so.
thing that can happen.
It's got to. It's got to.
Oh, okay. there's been some people that came in over the summer, and you see, I was start coming in May.
Yeah.
So to me, all the business is new and, you know, sorting out like.
Yeah, we hang out upstairs.
Yeah, that's where I saw you, because last couple times I was up there. I saw all last week.
It's a little more lax up there. There's less pressure to stand up for everything. All the parents.
Technology wasn't very good. But that way if the kids find out, I'm pretty sure it's how it was right there. And there's some other parents that they're nice because, you know, so that's where I can normally find him and I.
So I don't have to carry it. Just go in my pocket. It's easy. Just lock it, throw it in the back seat of the car, and you guys like.
That's why I am going to
When I was a little watch, you see, it's a great instrument.
But the most dangerous thing
I have a pocket.
I was coming out and I just ended up scrolling out, saying all they had in front of them flying upwards and the people
Happy certain watches.
Groupies are.
giving everybody scrapping.
It makes it feel, well, it does go, it makes functionality, because that always be back in survival.
Oh, okay. What are we doing that? I'm kind of waiting for my
So you deal with this.
Yeah, just let me know.
And I go over the edge. Oh, but he's worse than me.
I've gotten a lot better.
So high.
There's just certain things. There are just certain things that I can say. It's like, it's not bullshit.
My brother and sister